Hey, what's going on, YouTube? So I figured I'd get and give you guys an update on what's going on with the swap. I'm working on a fuel system right now. I figured I'm getting ready to button it all up. So I figured I'd just get and record and give you guys an update until I can get back out there. My garage smells like gas. I'm working out of my kitchen right now. Yeah, so let me give you guys an update on what's going on. Okay, so here's the fuel pump I decided to go with. I'll put a link in the description below. This is a quantum fuel pump. It's actually E85 capable, and it's an upgrade to Hellcat fuel pumps. So I had to modify the plastic bracket that holds the pump in place just a little bit. On a stock BMW pump, the pump kind of sits in here, and then there's a piece that kind of comes out to about this far, and it has like a built-in circular filter in there. I had to cut that piece off because the pump diameter was too big to just. It's bigger than the BMW fuel pump, so I cut that off. And then I just use a zip tie here to kind of keep it taut. And I put the fuel filter, or the pump filter that came with the quantum fuel pump. And it fits perfect. It'll fit down in this bucket assembly. I'll show you that once it's all together. But then I did a little bit of research at some of my friends online, and the stock fuel lines in the 6 series will actually support up to roughly 1,000 horsepower, and that's where I'm looking to be at. So I'm going to use what's in place, which makes the build just that much easier. Being that I can just use a stock the stock fuel lines. I don't have to run any 8N or anything like that. So here's the fuel line. Had to kind of cut it off. You can see a little crack right there in the line for me prying at it, but I had to cut it off of the other one. It's almost like molded on to the stock fuel pump. But the output nipple here from the replacement fuel pump is actually kind of up around this area. So I'm not worried about it not being able to pressurize the lines or anything like that. Yeah, so this is where I'm at right now. I'm gonna go ahead and pause for a second and put it all together, and then we'll come back to it. Okay, the assembly is back together. I'm gonna point out a couple of things as well too, and I don't know if I have a link to where I bought these things for, but I'm gonna point out some heat shrink that I use. But I use this heat shrink here. And I love this heat shrink. I've been using it for a couple of years. The sweet thing about it is it seals watertight where these red marks are at. And then in the middle piece actually solders the wire together. So all I did is just slide these on the wire before, and then twist the wire together, and then slide that back over the exposed wire and use the heat gun to shrink it down. But you got to have a pretty beefy heat gun. I have this Wagner heat gun here, and you can see the temps that it goes up to. It's a pretty high powered heat gun, but it works perfect to get that solder. Come on, focus. To get that solder melted and get those wires soldered together. Here's what the pack looks like as well too. Just to kind of point that out for you guys. So maybe if somebody wants to use them, you can find them on Amazon. But it's back to the assembly. So what I did is I cut the wire, cut the old connector off of the fuel pump that went to the fuel pump, and just wired in another connector. And this connector here is sealed as well too, and it's more of universal, and it actually came with the quantum fuel pump that's in there. And so that will allow me, and you can see it kind of gets connected there and goes back to the OEM wiring. So I can just pick up the fuel pump signal or the wire going to the fuel pump where the ECU is going to be at, because that's where I'm going to put my Holley ECU as well too. So that makes it clean. I don't have to run wires or anything like that. One of the other things that I noticed as well too, you can see I put a little zip tie, and I also cracked the top of this. It's not going to impede or anything from the function of the whole assembly, so I'm not too concerned about it. But I did use a little zip tie here, and that was mainly to make sure that this wire that I put in there and the connector that I put in place stays out of the way of the operation for the gas level float. I wanted to make sure that this thing had full non-impeded range of motion. So that's good. And I think it's about time to drop this bad boy back in. So I'll go ahead and head out to the car, and I'll see if I can record me dropping this in. I don't really have a stand or anything to put my phone on. I'm recording from my phone. So yeah. All right, we're back. So I didn't record the installation of the fuel pumps because, as you can see, I'm sweating. You really got to fight with it. And there was no way I was going to be able to record it with and actually do the install. But there's plenty of other videos out there that show you how to install and remove a fuel pump from a E63 4 whatever chassis, and I think it goes into the 5 series, and I think it's pretty much the same as well for the 3 series as well too. But anyway, the fuel pump's in, all of the hoses are hooked up, and now I want to show you where the stock line is and what I'm going to use. So let's get in. All right, so here's the engine bay. I pulled the engine back out again. It's sitting on the mounts and stuff like that. My slave cylinder is coming in on Monday, so I'll be able to hook the transmission back up to the engine, and then reinstall it, and then fabricate the transmission mounts. But talk about fuel system. So if you look here, actually, let me do that. This right here. That's the stock fuel line. It's a 3/8 line, 3/8 line, and it's already ran, and I'm going to use that. They make adapters that just slide onto that barb and then give you an 8-an fitting on the other side. So I'll use that adapter to hook up 8-ans and then run to the fuel rails on the LS engine. Sorry, I'm sweating. I'm fat. That's what fat people do. We sweat. So, so I'll go ahead and use that line, and that should take care of the fuel system. Now, I am going to have to run another line from the return side of the Aeromotive fuel pressure regulator back to the tank. I know some people run it into the filler neck underneath the car, but I'll run it into the tank so it's nice and clean, and I'll follow the same path as the fuel lines are concerned. And that will resolve the returnless issue that's going on, because the BMW didn't have a return style system. It just had a send style system. So you need to have a return style system. So more to follow. The next video should be of the engine being installed with the transmission, and then me looking at solutions for the clutch line, adapting it to the slave, and then also fabrication of the turbo, or well, not the turbo in itself, but the hot side on the turbo. But those hooker headers are going to make it really, really easy. So again, appreciate you guys watching the video. Like, subscribe, hit the little bell thing or whatever, and do all of the other stuff that I'm forgetting to tell you to do, that all the professional YouTube video guys tell you to do. And then also check me out on Instagram. It's streetimageperformance On Instagram, you'll probably stay more up to date on the build because I usually just snap photos. I'm not really big on recording and talking, but I'll snap a lot of photos and I post them to Instagram, and then I'll share them across Facebook and stuff like that. Every once in a while, I'll do like a short video on Instagram, but you'll get more content out of IG than you will YouTube. I just don't have the time to do all of the editing and stuff like that. But anyway, all right, thanks for watching. Peace.